I now request Advocate Ramadas from Bangalore to give the introduction speech.
I am glad to meet you all today. I thank Advocate Mr. Sivaprakash and Mr. Ravi who kindly extended this opportunity to introduce the speaker for today's sessions, Advocate Mr. S. Natana Rajan. As you all know, one of the senior most advocates practicing in Chennai High Court. I have been fortunate enough to know him for the past 5 decades. From the time he was an aspiring law college student until today, where he has soared greater heights. Associated with him for many years, I have the honor to say that he is the one to be looked upon as a role model or an inspiration for any aspiring young lawyer today. I had an opportunity to work with him one of the sensational and landmark case which some of you might have already guessed. Yes, the Thiruvalluvar statue is in Bangalore. His dedication and passion for his profession were profoundly felt in every stage. He is also a great orator, and I just can't wait to hear from him today. Thanking you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramdas. And Mr. Ramdas is a very close associate right from childhood days to our chief guest and guest speaker, Natana Rajan. And they both are one family like, and that is the reason. And they are together, and then they have done many good things to the lawyers fraternity. I now welcome Mr. Natana Rajan to go for the day on the subject adverse possession. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I profusely thank Mr. Mandi Ramadas for having introduced me in a very well manner. I owe many thanks to him. And besides, I owe many thanks to Madras Presidency Lawyers Forum for having given me the opportunity of talking on the topic adverse possession. And I also thank very particularly Mr. Advocate Ram Mayappan, Ravi Avinati Sundram, the moderators, and Advocate Jayanti Shah, the administrator. Good evening to all my learned friends, viewers, and other friends who have been seeing this episode. The question of adverse possession is a very, very wide topic. But though on the face of it, it may appear that it is a very, very negligible one. But this has a history of 2000 years prior to Christian era. This topic, adverse possession, has been developed stage by stage by all jurists and also by High Court judges, Supreme Court judges, and all. There is no codified act, as we all see. Let's say something specifically Act, National Negotiable Instruments Act, and so on and forth. So, though so many acts are there in our system, very unfortunate to note that there is no act passed pertaining to law of adverse possession. When you talk about law of adverse possession, first of all, the possession is a word connected to the property. The property, there is any number of properties you all know, tangible property, intangible property, and immovable property, movable property, and so on and so forth. But law of adverse possession specifically deals with the immovable property. When you come about possession, the word possession is a very, very, very elaborate one. You may feel that there is a constructive possession, physical possession. Constructive possession, you all know that you should necessarily, there are two persons. One, you the possessor, the owner, and one another person, something like a lessor and a lessee, mortgagor and mortgagee. But as far as physical possession is concerned, there is only one person, the owner. Now, the question of property or ownership is a bundle of rights, out of which possession is also one of the complements or one of the rights available. To hold and possess and enjoy. That's why whenever we write a sale deed, we normally say, henceforth, the purchaser is at liberty to hold, possess, and enjoy the property forever, generation to generation. So, the possession plays a vital role so far as the property is concerned. Now, this possession is developed, the topic of possession is developed as far as India is concerned right from 1905. But the topic became very, very elaborate only after the introduction of the Limitation Act, and that particularly the present Limitation Act. Section 64 and 65 of the Limitation Act deals with the possession of the property. When you go to the Limitation Act, first of all, you should look at the Section 3 of the Limitation Act. Section 3, may I take you to Section 3, subject to provisions contained in Section 4 to 24, both are inclusive, Section 4 to 24. Every suit interested, appeal preferred, and application made after the presented period shall be discussed, although limitation has not been set up as a defense. So, whenever a suit is instituted, the question of adverse possession should be definitely pleaded. Nowadays, pleading plays a vital role in all conduct of the cases. With due respect to all my advocates friends, ladder friends, and other seniors and all, in some cases, the pleadings are not getting drafted properly because of the pressure and the emergency brought by the or contributed by the parties. Whenever we pay heed to those pressure, then we lose sanitary points or salutary points to be made in the pleadings. So now, when you have even when there is no defense, you can file a suit, even after the limitation period. But now let me take you to Section 27. At the determination of the period hereby limited to any person for instituting a suit for possession of property, his right to such property shall be distinguished. Here, this is the basic section which develops Article 64 and 65. Now, if you look at Article 64 and 65, there are so many matters. That is, may I read the Article 24? 12 years from the date of possession for possession of immovable property based on previous possession and not on title, when the plaintiff, while in possession of the property, has been dispossessed. Now, this is a very peculiar section. Even though it deals with adverse possession, it's a very peculiar article. It deals with the person who is not the owner of the property. When you compare Article 64 and 65, you will find a subtle difference. Article 64 deals with the person who does not have actual title or ownership, but simply because of his possession. Suppose there is a trespasser. Let me take an example. Suppose there is a trespasser. He has trespassed into the property and has been enjoying the property even to the knowledge of the original owner or whatsoever or not. Now, his right cannot be disturbed by one another person, another person. So this person who is actually in possession, though may not be a owner of the property, can still prevent or still fight that he has been enjoying the property for more than 12 years and the other person cannot disturb into it. So this is Article 64. Article 65, for possession of immovable property or any interest herein based on title. So when title is there, then his rights cannot be disturbed, but he has to prove that he has been dispossessed within the period of 12 years prior to the suit, institution of the suit. Now, as far as Article 64 is concerned, the trespasser, even the owner who is not the person who is not the owner of the property, can institute a suit. Article 65, the person who is the actual owner of the property can institute a suit. Now, this is the question. This is the basic articles which have developed a wide subject known as adverse possession. This is one of the important factors for which a proper act should have been codified by the state legislature, central legislature or state legislature, as the case may be. But despite the suggestions given by the Apex Court, I am very sorry to say that the proper code has not been codified till date, perhaps maybe due to obvious reasons. But now the question is adverse possession. Now the question is, if the other person has been enjoying the property for more than 12 years, openly and uninterruptedly and continuously, he perfects his title. Adverse possession here means adverse to the original owner of the property or the person who is entitled to have possession of the property. Because we have to read Article 64 and 65 together. In such circumstances, any person who is claiming right as adverse possession, or that is, I have been enjoying the property adverse to the interest of the original owner of the property, or adverse to the person who has been in possession of the property, then he has to prove his adverse interest. That is called animus possidendi. So, unless and until the person who is claiming rights or want to hostile or wooster the person who is lawfully entitled to have the property, he has to prove that he has been continuously enjoying the property without any interruption or whatsoever manner, and openly and known to the person against whom he is claiming adverse possession. That is what the Latin term says, nec vi, nec lan, nec precaria. Now, what is adverse possession? Once again, when we go back to the Act, we find only there is no definition given for adverse possession. This is only the judgment laws. Now, the question of person enjoying the property has been enjoying the property for more than 12 years, that is a prescribed period. Now, the latest case law on this aspect, 2019, reported in 2019, AR 2019, Supreme Court, page number 3827, by their lordships Arun Mishra, Abdul Nasir, and M.R. Shah. This particular judgment throws a wide, full knowledge over the entire question of adverse possession. The learned judges have dealt with nearly 92 cases in that judgment, have analyzed 92 cases, and at last they have come to a conclusion. That is the conclusion aspect. I will come a little later. Now we should let us understand the purpose of introduction of this Article 64 and 65. There is the large number of decisions of this court or various other decisions of Privy Council, High Courts and English courts, which have been discussed here, and the observations made in Halsbury laws based on various decisions indicate that suit can be filed by the plaintiff on the basis of title acquired by way of adverse possession. Now, person who has been enjoying the property has every right to dispossess the other person. So, person who is filing the suit for possession, the burden is on him to prove, first of all, to prove that either he is the owner of the property or he has acquired title by prescription. Yes, once again, sorry to repeat it. Article 64 and 68 to be read together. So far as Article 64 is concerned, a person who has perfected this title by adverse possession, he is also entitled. A person under Article 65, a person who is the owner of the property or having title over the property, he can also dispossess the property. Now, for the purpose of proving, the initial burden of proof lies on the person who is claiming the possession. Either it is Article 64 or 65, the initial burden lies on the person who claims right over the suit property or who demands possession over the suit property. He has to prove his right. Now, once that burden is discharged, once the owner or once a plaintiff is able to prove that he has got a title over the property and he has been dispossessed unlawfully, then the person who is claiming interest over the property, adverse to the interest of the real owner or adverse to the person who has got perfected his title, he has to prove that he has been enjoying the property continuously, openly, and uninterruptedly, and even to the knowledge of the original owner or to the person who is claiming title, who is claiming possession, that he has been enjoying the property for 12 years. So now the weight of evidence, the burden of proof lies on the person on whom he is claiming the right of adverse possession. Adverse to the original owner is a very, very important. So, original ownership, sorry to repeat once again, ownership is a right having a bundle of rights. Now, out of which the possession is one thing, and the possession is disturbed, and he has to prove that the person who is claiming title has entered into the property and has been enjoying the property continuously, uninterruptedly, for even to the knowledge of the real owner or the person who is entitled for the possession, and he has been enjoying for more than the prescribed period. Now the question comes, now what is the right between the owners who has been jointly possessed? Suppose I have got a property at Chennai and I am living at, I left the property with the disposal of my brother or my sisters, whatever it may be, and I go over to America or any other foreign countries or even inside the country itself, and I have been not taking any interest in the entire aspect of exercising my rights as a ownership, as a owner, and the person who is against whom the suit has been filed happens to be my brother or sister, whomsoever it is. If that person is able to establish that he has been enjoying the property even to the detriment of my interest, with my knowledge, and continuously for more than 12 years without any interruption or anything from my own, from my side, then the co-owner gets a title by adverse possession. That is not called as adverse possession, but it is called as ooster. Now, ooster comes into the scene only in between the co-owners. And the question of co-ownership does not bar the person, because Normally, co-owner, one co-owner is the principal and agent of the other co-owner. One co-owner is the principal for himself and the agent of the other co-owner. So the co-owner is enjoying the property as the principal and also as the agent of the other co-owner. So unless the other co-owner, who is supposed to, for whom this co-owner is acting as the agent, he should exercise his rights properly. How do you exercise your rights? For example, I get a patta in respect of the land for my own. Even though the property belongs to ownership, co-ownership, I get a patta in my own name. I pay the electricity bill on my own name. I pay the property tax on my own name. And I pay everything, every revenue statutory commitments on my own without any reference to the other co-owner. And the other co-owner has not seen or exercised any rights, then he cannot claim the rights, and that is boosted. But the simple thing is, there is one other defect in this booster, because the person is residing at abroad or residing elsewhere at a far off distance. He may not be knowing what is known to him, what has been happening in the property, what is the mischief played by the other co-owner. So the other co-owner at any point of time should have kept the other co-owner informed or to the knowledge that he has been enjoying the property as his own property. So unless that information is given or passed on, then the question of booster will not come, or will come definitely. Suppose there is a case law also where a person who has been enjoying the property has written a letter to the real owner stating that I have purchased the property, even though I have been for this process or I have not been in possession. I have purchased the property and I am enjoying the property. Then the date of limitation starts from the date on which the said letter is put on communication. Once the letter is put on communication, under general clauses of fact, it is agreed and accepted that the other person has been put on notice of it. So there should be a animus possibility or an inclination to enjoy the property as my own property without detriment to the interest of my other person or the actual owner. Now the next question would be because regarding the adverse possession is a very wide topic. Within prescribed time limit, it is very difficult for me to go around. But one another topic is there. Suppose the property, as far as the individual is concerned, it is for 12 years. Agreed. Suppose the property is of the government, then what happened? Then Article 112 comes into the scene. It says that unless and until no action is not taken within the period of 30 years from the date of his possession, then the person who is enjoying the property has perfected his title and he has been enjoying the property and his rights cannot be disturbed. There is one case law where the Supreme Court has held that the property belongs to the government, but the person who has been enjoying the property for more than 30 years, in respect that the police authorities have been instituting cases after cases and have been defeated. At last, the matter went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, no, the police, even though that is, whether the state which is in charge of the protection of life, liberty and property of people could be permitted to grab the land. You understand the word, grab the land and property of its own citizens under the banner of plea of adverse possession. This is reported in AR 2011, 10 SCC, page number 404. that the police authorities have been trying to dispossess the person from his ownership. However, I read that specific paragraph. However, Superintendent of Police, senior official in Indian Police Service, made a repeated attempt to grab the property of true owner by filing repeated appeals before different forums, claiming right of ownership by way of adverse possession. The government should protect the property of the citizen and not steal it. And if protectors of law become grabbers of property, then people would be left with no protection and there will be total anarchy in the entire country. Therefore, it is clear that no government department, public undertaking, and much less public department should be permitted the perfect title of land or building by invoking provisions of adverse possession and grab the property of its own citizens, so and so. So the question of 30 years, as far as the government is concerned, it is laid in the Article 1 and 2. Now, even if it is regarding the Article 1 and 2, suppose if a person has been let into the property, has been enjoying the property. It's a government land, he has been enjoying the property. In the media, within the period of 12 years, he has written a letter requesting for the government to settle the land in his favor. So the court held, no. Once you have written a letter to the government accepting the title, accepting his title, and asking for a permission to settle the property in your favor, then your possession cannot be treated as adverse possession, and you cannot escape the question of you have to you are bound by Article 112. Once the very moment you accept the title, even regarding the other Article 64 and 65, and also the Article 112, the question of the important thing is once you accept a particular person as your own, as the owner, and accepts the title within the period of 12 years, once you accept, then you cannot claim the right. Now, the question of adverse possession should be coupled with the acceptance of title. Now, if any person is going to institute a suit for possession, declaratory relief, stating that I have been enjoying the property for more than 12 years or more than the prescribed period, why I have perfected my title. If he says so, then he should not have accepted the title of others, title of the person against whom he has accepted he has filed the suit. Once he accepts, yes, you are the title holder, and I am requesting you to convey my property in my favor. Then in such circumstances, he cannot ask for adverse possession. Similarly, one another case arose under Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act. A person, an agreement to sell was entered, and a person was put into possession as agreement holder. Then, because of 12 years expiry, he says, no, I have perfected my title by adverse possession, so you cannot dispossess me, because he should have entered into the property as a purchaser or agreement holder. That is what the repeated law of adverse possession also says. He should have entered into the property detriment to the interest of the original owner. Suppose he is a permissive occupant, he is a lessee or a mortgagor, as the case may be. When he has accepted, that is impliedly the title of the ownership has been accepted by him, and impliedly he has also accepted that it is only a constructive possession. What he has got is only a constructive possession, but not adverse possession. I think I have made myself clear to you. There is a difference between constructive possession and adverse possession. Once a person accepts the ownership and prays for that relief, then the possession is only called as constructive possession, because a lessee, because he has enjoyed the property for more than 12 years, he cannot pray for adverse possession. Similarly, a mortgagor has been enjoying the property for more than 12 years, he cannot accept claim the rights of adverse possession. So what is required is he should have entered into the property into an unlawful manner, because the lease or any other transaction, because all the transaction covered by Transfer of Property Act, under any of these provisions, if anyone has entered into the property, satisfying any of the provisions of the Transfer of Property Act, he cannot claim right of adverse possession. He has to prove that he has entered into the property unlawfully and he has been enjoying the property openly to the knowledge of the original owner, and he has been enjoying the property continuously for more than the prescribed period. So all these three complements have got to be complied with. Unless until these elements are complied with, he cannot go for adverse possession. The other topic we come to our consideration is whether a person who is enjoying the property, because Article 64 or Article 65 or Article 112 is only a prohibitory section as against the owner. It is not the article conferring any title or conferring any rights on the person who claims adverse possession. So, up to a particular stage, all the courts held that the question of adverse possession cannot be used as a sword, but it can be used only as a shield. So, once the owner is intending to disturb his possession, then he can say, yes, see, here is where I have been perfected by title, but I have by way of adverse possession, and this is my shield against your claim. So he cannot utilize it as a sword. But this particular element or this particular phenomena or this particular principle have been going on for years and years and years. Now, this latest citation, what I referred to you all, it is 2019, AR 2019 SCC, Supreme Court, that is 3827. It overrules all the judgments whereunder it has been held that the law, the person who is claiming the right of adverse possession cannot use it as a sword. This was the principle laid down already. But under this present citation, it is their lordship of Supreme Court have held. No. Though it may work out as a shield, and the Article 64 or 65 or 112 may say that may give you a prescribed period. Then, suppose by chance the prescribed period is over, the suit filed by the original owner is dismissed, or the question of based upon the title perfected by the person who is actually in the enjoyment of the property by adverse possession, right, is destroyed. Okay. Then what happens to the property thereafter? What is the position of the property thereafter? So someone has got to claim the rights over the property. Suppose a third person comes into the interference. How can the person actually enjoy the property but can disturb, can prevent his rights? So, their lordships have held that Article 64 and Article 65 and Article 112, though may work out to be a preventive provisions or prohibitory provisions so far as the original owner or person in possession is concerned, it can be used, they are taking the corollary theory, it can be used as a sword also. Suppose a person is enjoying the property for more than 12 years. The original is also keeping quiet. He is not filing the suit. Let us take it for example. He is not filing a suit at all for possession. He has been keeping quiet, and this man has also been keeping quiet. What happens then? So, the Supreme Court says, no, Article 64, 65 and Article 112 can be utilized as a sword also. So, a person who claims that he has perfected his title by adverse possession, then he can file a suit for a declaratory relief that he has perfected his title by adverse possession and has got to be declared as the owner of the property. So this question has been taken up for consideration, and their lordships have overruled the judgments cited in 2008 11 SCC 449, AR 2017 SC 4472, 2014 1 SCC 669. All these judgments, 3 judgments have been overruled, and their lordships say that once a person has perfected his title by adverse possession, he can file a suit for a declaration that he has perfected his title by adverse possession and his rights, and he has to be declared as the owner, and there should be an injunction restraining the actual person from interfering with his peaceful possession and enjoyment of the suit property. Once the suit is decreed and declared, then automatically, by virtue of this decree, he becomes the absolute owner of the property. And with that, if that decree is registered under the Registration Act, according to the provisions, then he will be on record. He will become the owner of the property. Thereafter, his rights cannot be disturbed even by the original owner. Now, the other question is, okay, I am filing a suit for declaratory relief. I am the person who has been enjoying the property for more than 12 years. Now, what is I have to pay the suit court fees or not? Now, this question arose in various different cases, wherein when a plea is made that he has perfected his title by adverse possession, and he says that the original owner cannot disturb his possession, what happens? There is no counterclaim. But so the suit will be dismissed as such by the person who has filed the suit. So there is no relief as such. Suppose a person asks for a counterclaim, then a counterclaim has got to be valued. Similarly, if a suit is to be filed by the person who is in hostile possession continuously for more than 12 years, has perfected his title, he has also to file a suit for declaratory relief. Then the prayer to be made in counterclaim and also the prayer to be made in the declaratory suit have got to be in line. That is, he has got to pray for a declaration that he has perfected his title by adverse possession and he has become the absolute owner of the property, and also for an injunction restraining the other person from interfering with his possession. In such a case, if a counterclaim is made, then what happens? Once the suit is dismissed, automatically this counterclaim will be answered. Or if no suit is filed, then if he files a suit, then also he can file the suit for declaration that he has become the absolute owner of the property. In such circumstances, he has to pay a court fee as far as Tamil Nadu Court Fees and Suits Valuation Act. He has to pay a court fee under section 25B, that is declaration and injunction, is half of the market value he has to pay. Because he is already in possession of the property. So he is not asking for possession of the property. Possession is already there. So he is only asking for a declaratory relief and for injunction. So he has to pay the court fees for half of the value of the market value. When the plaintiff has filed the suit for possession, he has to pay the full court fees for the entire value of the property. And a person who has been enjoying the property adverse to the interest of the original owner, he has to pay the court fee for half of the value of the property. So the entire question boils down. Now, it is Article 64, 65 or 112, though may be a prohibitory provisions, it also works out as a sword for the person who has unlawfully entered into the property. That is the latest position of the case law. Now, as learned friends, you all know law which is good today is becoming a bad law tomorrow, and once again becomes a good law day after tomorrow regarding the based upon the appreciation of the jurists sitting in the post, respective posts. Suppose tomorrow, this particular day, this is 2019, his work is referred to a larger bench because this is a three bench judge. Suppose the matter is referred to a larger bench, and that bench can overrule it. So, but as on date, the position is that a person who has perfected his title by adverse possession can file a suit for a declaration that he is the absolute owner of the property. So now, another aspect is now let me take you through the case laws as far as the question of adverse possession is concerned. There are umpteen number of cases because even if you look at the AR 2019 judgment which I have referred, you will find 92 judgments dealt by their lordships. When there are 92 judgments, there is the judgments which have been really referred to the judges by the bar. So, but that does not mean that is the 92 judgments only are there. But there are umpteen number of judgments. But to highlight you to regarding certain aspects, may I take you to 2004 10 SCC 779, which says that defendant appellant's claim that property was work property not proved by evidence on record. Evidence showing that the plaintiff respondent is in absolute ownership and continuous possession of the suit property for last about 1 century. Its title is valid. Suit property is government property and not a work character. So this is not a this is the thing that says it is a correct position, that perfected title by adverse possession. Now it's also 2006 7 SEC 570 that talks about adverse possession. Adverse possession contemplates a hostile possession, that is a possession which is expressly or impliedly in denial of title of the true owner. Possession to be adverse must be possession by a person who does not acknowledge others' right but not denies them. Possession is not held to be adverse. It can be referred to a lawful title. Under Article 65 Limitation Act, burden is on the defendants to prove affirmative. And the other matter is 2007 6 SEC 539. High Court held the two important, the Supreme Court held the two important governments of adverse possession basically absent within the both in the pleadings and in evidence. That is what I referred to you at the earlier stage. There should be a proper pleadings. Two important governments of adverse possession basically absent both in pleadings and in evidence. One is recognized title of person against whom adverse possession is claimed. Other is to enjoy the property, adverse title holder's interest after making him known that enjoyment was against his own interest. So he should have proved, and there should be specific pleadings. And when there is no specific pleadings, then he cannot ask for the prayer of adverse possession. Then another judgment is 2009 13 SEC 229. While plaintiffs have made out clear and absolute title to property, defendant are not able to make out title or adverse possession for more than 12 years. High Court did not examine any of these aspects, and by cursory judgment reversed well-considered judgment of trial court. That is, trial court has well considered, High Court has not considered, but the Supreme Court says no, it is the trial court's judgment is valid. That is 2009 13 SEC 229. Then I guess now this regarding these aspects are concerned, we are quite clear. That is 12 years as far as the individual is concerned, individual property is concerned, and 30 years regarding the government property is concerned. and Wooster is boosting the rights of the co-owner, and that is also we have considered. And a person who is in unlawful possession, if he has rights perfected his title by adverse possession, he can file a suit for possession. Now the next thing comes, the Hindu Religious Endowment Board, Hindu Religious Endowment Act. Now, Hindu Religious Endowment Act Section 109. Nothing contained in the Limitation Act 1963 shall apply to any suit for possession of immovable property belonging to any religious institution or for possession of any interest in such property. So, Section 109 of HRC Act use the entire provisions of the Limitation Act. So, the plea of adverse possession cannot be taken against HRC board or the temple's property. That is one lacuna that I will discuss it shortly. But what the provision says, Section 109 requires persons pleading title adverse possession to prove that property had vested in them prior to 29/1951. Question of limitation of plea of adverse possession cannot be raised by anybody. So the question is, if he has been in the possession of the property before 29/1951, the limitation will automatically come into the scene, and the HRC cannot be prevented, or the occupant cannot be prevented. So now the question is, under HRC Act, the possession, demanding possession of the property after the prescribed period or cannot be prevented, and the person who has been enjoying the property continuously has got to lose his property, and he has to hand over possession. For example, more or less what you have read in Capitum talk, then we have the purchaser has got to be careful while purchasing the property. If he has not purchased the property without any proper care, then automatically he loses his rights. Now, the question I pose to myself is, Article 112 says that 30 years as far as the government is concerned. So if another person is enjoying the property for more than 30 years, his possession is perfected. That is the Article 112, even as far as the government is concerned. Now, HRC board is after all one another limb of the government. HRC board is not a board which has descended from heaven. It is actually developed out of our own act, and it is one another limb of the government. When a government's property cannot be disturbed after 30 years, how can HRC board act property alone or property covered by HRC Act alone cannot be disturbed? How can that does it not appear to be a contradictory one? The government itself loses its rights when the question of House and HRC Act comes, or the person in the occupation of the property also loses his rights. So this particular amendment, with due respect to the codifying authorities, I feel, this is my opinion, I feel that Section 109 is contrary to the Article 112. So, the person who has been enjoying the property, after all, HRC board is also a limb of the government. So, the property belonging to the HRC board also belongs to the property of the government. And if I have been enjoying the property for more than 30 years, then HRC board also cannot disturb a possession. Merely because you happen to be a temple, you cannot disturb a possession. The concept of adverse possession, why it has come into the scene? Because a person who claims ownership of the property, if he sleeps over his rights and do not disturb the other person, the person who is in the occupation of the property, in case of individual for 12 years and in case of a government for 30 years, why should there be a prohibition for HRC board alone? Why should there be a privilege given to the HRC board alone? Has it not worked out to be a contradiction to one another? So my respectful submission to you is that unless a proper law of adverse possession is codified taking into consideration of all these acts and rules, then necessarily we will be having a proper act and we will be protecting the interests of the public. Now, there are so many valuable persons who purchase the property of the temple or who have been cheated by their trustees by executing the sale deed. Then the person who purchases the property becomes the helpless, and he is being left without any arms. So my respectful submission is that there should be a proper codified act. I think I have come to the conclusion of it. Now I leave it to the forum for questioner.
Thank you, sir. It was one of the best session, I hope. Really, everyone are taking notes of your session, which I'm able to see from here. And I hope, let me first go to the impressions before question session. I request. Yes, Mr. Palani Kumar, you are there, sir?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Yes, you can give your impressions, sir. We are waiting for you.
It's a very fantastic presentation by sir. It was very fine, and the arrangement of presentation also very fine. I want to draw the attention of my senior counsel in Ayodhya case. I think this has been changed. This where the Supreme Court has taken another SAR's view, our senior's view. I think so. I actually enjoyed your entire session, sir. Very fantastic presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
I want to say about Palani Kumar. He is one of the person who is organizing programs every now and then, and his presentation also will be class. And he is the person who invited one of our member, Advocate Shiva Prakash, to give lecture on their group. Palani Kumar is one of the thorough and subject person. Thank you, Palani Kumar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Raghavan Rajendran, let
Yes.
the question be short and sweet.
Yeah, because sir, wonderful to my senior and wonderful brother and my one of the group, Natanarajan sir. It was a wonderful session. You went on from A to Z of that in whatever is the limited time frame.
Okay, Venkatramani sir, please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, sir. So it was a very good session. More particularly, our learned senior friend had explained the difference between the adverse possession and constructive possession. In fact, many of the junior advocates do not know the exact meaning of adverse possession. So they confuse themselves between the term adverse and constructive. Practically, I have experienced that. So this has been aptly explained by our learned friend, and it was very informative. Thank you very much, sir.
Eldest son of our speaker, Mr. Shiva Prakash. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
It was really a very wonderful session. I am too small to say anything about or comment about my father's limitation not applicable to the properties of the temple. I also accept the view of the speaker, because there cannot be any inequality amongst the law. When the law of limitation is applicable for the entire India and also the other aspects, simply because it is a specific legislation, it cannot curtail the applicability of the Limitation Act. And as said, the temple properties are being administered by the executive officers. Simply because the property is owned by an idol, it cannot take the it cannot be placed in a better position. That's what I'm also in agreement with the speaker's view. Anyway, the sessions went very on well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, today's speaker, Shishya, Suresh.
For particularly myself, I am blessed with your lecture, sir, because I never thought that lecture is going on between several friends. I personally thought that you are discussing particularly with me only. Like that, I felt. I am very happy and grateful to you, sir.
I am so obliged.
Sir, Speaker Sir Nataraj sir, your
Yes.
friend has come, Sriram AK.
Oh, very good, very good, very good.
Sir, namaskaram.
Dear participants, I wanted to say about Advocate Mr. Sriram. And recently there was a coffee bar with senior advocates. And the way in which he moderated the entire show, it's unbeatable. Which he expressed about the seniors and the way in which he explained about their seniors and his experience with each and every doyens. And really class.
It's so good to see you, sir.
Next session on coming 22nd specific performance, and then 24th we have on Ritz. Thereafter weekly twice we have. Kindly watch our updates and make yourself note on this. And I really thank today's speaker for giving the opportunity to MPL to address here. And then participant, I thank you all.